You're afraid to tell anybody because you think that you're going to get taken away. Police coming in and, you know, banging in the door and, you know, the radio's going and guns and you're just a child. It's just like a war zone.
Everyone says there's no achievement without strife. But with fame, the strife gets twisted into something sinister, perhaps even tragic. With singers and actors, there's always that one thing about them that leads them into the spotlight, aside from their talents, and it shows that fame gains the spotlight, but for the wrong reason sometimes. Shania Twain was not the exception, but this tragedy was indeed heart-wrenching, sending people into mad outbursts and sympathy for her. So the question still stands, what actually happened to Shania? Buckle up because we are about to go into the details of the tragedy of Shania Twain. A little girl full of big dreams, Shania, whose real name is Eileen Edwards, was born on the 28th of August, 1965, and grew up as the second eldest among a family of 5 children in Timmins, Ontario, in the vibrant nation of Canada. Life wasn't so much a stroll in the park for her, as her family was not well off, but surprisingly, they made the best out of it. Her mother was named Sharon, and her Ojibwe stepfather, Jerry Twain, who was a forester, raised her, and since the adoption by Jerry, became known as Twain. Others around them recognized them to be their family and called them status Indian members of the Temagami First Nation. The family would spend their weekends and summers soaking up nature at the Matagami Reserve, and that is where Eileen learned the ways of a rough life, such as hunting, chopping firewood, and rabbit tracking, which had become something she typically does to make her happy. Since a tender age, music was extremely regular in her life, courtesy of her parents, who subjected her to musical geniuses and legends such as Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, and Tammy Wynette. Their loving encouragement further strengthened her interest in singing and performing right from a tender age. When a family relocated to Sudbury in 1973, 8-year-old Eileen dove headfirst into music, singing in school choirs and superbly playing community centers, bars, and even senior residences. By the age of 10, she was composing and writing her own songs and participating in talent competitions, which began stirring up commotion on local airwaves. Her mother was her biggest supporter, and she began to make occasional specials on Canadian television, such as Opry North, Easy Country, and The Mercy Brothers Show. It all came together in a momentous occasion in 1978, when the 13-year-old Eileen took the phenomenal stage of CBC TV's The Tommy Hunter Show. And as colossal as this contract was, it was only the start of her phenomenal career. In 1980, her family once again decided to move back to Timmins, where her parents started a reforestation business. This migration, though, only provided her with less opportunity to perform. In high school, she did several different jobs, such as playing trumpet in the school band, working part-time at McDonald's, and singing in a top 40 rock band named Longshot. She spent some of her summers helping out as a tree planting supervisor for her father's reforestation business. And in this, she developed her leadership skills out in the wilderness. In a not-so-uncommon display of vulnerability, Shania discussed her challenge while growing up with a media individual. She shared about the difficulties of living in an abusive home environment and the sort of hunger she and her family experienced. She went on, "I think I've remained fairly detached from my own life until this point, as if I'd been observing some other individual go through it all. But I've connected with myself again and recognized, no, this is who I truly am. I feel no shame over my history, where I'm from, or what I've endured. I'm not ashamed of it." Besides her suffering as a kid, she also shared about her mom and the physical abuse she received from her stepdad. She spoke about the reality that it was so overwhelming for her to bear witness to as a kid, and possibly it impacted some of her choices in life. It was overwhelming for any kid to never know what they were getting into from day to day. It might occur at any time, and you're always in suspense, wondering if they'll make it through. She remembered the fear of watching her stepdad's violent rages, such as one horrifying moment when he slammed her mom Sharon's head into the toilet. In her own words, "I really believed he'd killed her. I actually thought that she was drowned or dead, or that he had simply smashed her head in and that she was never going to wake up. She was lifeless, unconscious, limp, hanging from his hands by her hair. She endured the horror and humiliation of believing that her mother had abandoned her in this world, and that memory still existed with her until adulthood. As if all this horror was not enough, she went on to explain that the abuse didn't just end at her mother, but continued to her also, and that she participated in the abuse and did worse than her mother. Even today, she grapples with the bewilderment of how her father, who taught her the values of hard work and kindness, could be so verbally abusive. She also recalls being envious of other kids' lunches when she was younger, but even when she was starving, she never even thought about asking for assistance. I would have never embarrassed myself enough to go over and say, I'm hungry. Can I have that apple you're not going to eat? I wasn't silly enough to do that, she added. Her experiences only reflect the deeply entrenched troubles she had while growing up, which defined her resilience, strength, and determination to overcome adversity. These challenges only became worse, though, when her parents were involved in a car accident that resulted in their deaths in 1987, leaving her to raise her 3 younger siblings. Assuming the kind of great responsibility at such a young age was no easy task, and she bore the heavy burden of that responsibility as she attempted to deal with her own loss while continuing to take care of her siblings. From a tiny Canadian town to the entire globe, she worked tirelessly in spite of the adversity that faced her. Before we examine the tragedy she suffered at 60, let's examine her remarkable career briefly. Her incredible career, losing her parents, was intended to burden her, but Shania still kept pursuing her undeniable passion for music, singing, and performing in clubs, and honing her craft. In 1991, she got the full attention of a producer named Nora Wilson, who brought her to Nashville, Tennessee, to record her first album. It was at this time that she adopted the name Shania, which means I'm on my way, in honor of her stepfather's Ojibwe heritage. Her debut album, titled Shania Twain, found sales of about 100,000 copies, but they were just enough to catch the attention of another famous producer by the name of Robert John Muttlang. This producer was famous for his work on legends such as Bryan Adams, Def Leppard, and Michael Bolton. And it wasn't long before the pair began working together, both musically and personally, falling in love and marrying in 1993. Only 2 years later, she released her second album, The Woman in Me, which proved to be a commercial and critical hit, selling a record-breaking 18 million copies and a Grammy Award for Country Album of the Year. Her third album, titled Come On Over, that she launched in 1997, received chart-topper singles on both the pop and country charts with songs such as You're Still the One and Asterisk Man. I Feel Like a Woman star. Further, in the next year, she embarked on her first North American tour. By 1999, Come On Over had sold over 10 million copies, which made her the top-selling female country artist and the first female recording artist of any type of genre to have 2 straight albums reach that threshold. In 2002, she gave out the much-expected Asterisk Up, Asterisk, a double album that included both country and pop renditions of her songs. Her greatest hits collection, which featured a duet with a country singer by the name of Billy Currington, came out in 2004, and all of these helped to further cement her name and position as a music legend. During the years that followed, she chose to withdraw herself from the limelight and the spotlight, though her 2010 breakup with her former spouse remained a subject of interest for the mind of the media. She also suffered from personal struggles, fighting an illness following her diagnosis in 2003. Her hiatus finally came to an end in 2011 when she appeared in the reality television show entitled Asterisk Why Not? With Shania Twain Asterisk, and released her much-awaited autobiography entitled From This Moment On. She was inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame and awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame during the same year. That was far greater than a challenge to keep pursuing her musical career, and she went on to do so as she launched the single entitled Today Is Your Day in 2011 and began a residency show entitled Shania, Still the One at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas from 2012 to 2014. In 2017, following another brief hiatus, she returned triumphantly with Now, a studio album that was her first in 15 years, and naturally it went #1. She opened up a second Las Vegas residency, Asterisk Let's Go, In 2019, despite having to suspend the show in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic and resuming it in 2021. In 2022, the life and career of hers were featured in the Netflix documentary Not Just a Girl, and she brought out the album Queen of Me the next year, which included sizzling collaborations with artists such as Justin Bieber and Pitbull. In May 2024, she began another Las Vegas residency, as she went on to enthrall and inspire fans with her amazing talent and able performances. Her credibility in the mainstream pop world was further cemented through her performance in the first VH1 Divas concert in 1998, sharing the stage with incredible icons such as Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, Gloria Estefan, Carole King, and Aretha Franklin. This exposure, coupled with her appearance on VH1's Behind the Music in 1999, which centered on the sad parts of her upbringing, her physical beauty, and Nashville's initial resistance to her inciting music videos, served to raise her profile. After Divas, she provided background vocals for some of Celine Dion's tracks entitled If Walls Could Talk and Goodbyes, The Saddest Word, which again highlighted her versatility and skill. Also, to prove that she could do more than music alone, in 2004, she appeared in a cameo role as herself in the feature film I Heart Huckabees. Also, she re-emerged into the public scene on November 12, 2008, with a fantastic surprise appearance as a presenter for the 42nd CMA Awards and her first television appearance